LSU wins it by the final of 21-17. We just heard from Brian Kelly in the last hour with his press conference, which we'll get to a little bit later in this hour. But so many different ways to go with this game with LSU, with the play on the field, the mistakes, the great plays, the emotions, the win. What does it mean? There's a lot to unpack, which we'll do here over the next 2 hours. But kind of your big picture thoughts on what you saw on Saturday.
Yeah, I think big picture, worried about the passing game. I thought it digressed a ton. I never thought I'd see a world.
5 yards in the second half?
5 yards and a half. Just never thought I'd see the world. You got the drops coming, and just not. The order of operations was just very, very bad. But I think all in all, if we're thinking big picture, I love when they could get the tough yards up the middle. Denbrock didn't shift away from that, and that's something that was a huge cause for concern with me when you're watching that Florida State game. I'm like, yeah, well, we know Jaden can get the rushing yards. Can we get something from our backs? And I thought, as that game kind of got going on late in the game, they were able to get those tough yards up the middle, which I think you're going to have to need going forward in this season. I thought defense, without those big plays, obviously we know about the bust, but this team's gonna have to ride with this defense. You got so many athletes out there. When they aren't busting coverages, this is a really difficult defense to score touchdowns against. And teams are gonna get yards. Someone would have told me Asher's gonna throw for 300 plus. I'd have been like, man, that's gonna look like an L, especially on the road. So I thought the special teams also was better too. So all in all, I think you get out of the Plains alive against a bad football team with the win, which you always want to do. But there's a lot of stuff you can fix going forward.
For sure. You started with the passing game there. By now, you know all the stats. We mentioned the 5 yards in the second half. Jaden Daniels for the night, 8 out of 20 for 80 yards. Nussmeier was 2 of 6 for 5 yards. It was very, very clunky, and it was clunky in a way that was different than it's been all year. I think the passing game against Florida State was really almost non-existent because Daniels was just tucking it and running it so often. And then you look at the struggles that they had in the game on Saturday, and he wasn't just tucking it and running it too early. He was sitting back in the pocket. He was looking at the field, and he didn't see anywhere to go with the football. Now, that's one of the problems with not going to the game is that, watching on TV, I don't know if anybody's open or not. I got a couple texts from people that were in the stadium saying that people were open. I don't know. I didn't see that. But Dayton Daniels was not tucking it and running at the first sign of pressure. He was sitting in the pocket, looking down the field, and the ball just wasn't coming out for whatever reason. Did you have any sort of thought on what you were seeing in the pass game?
Yeah, I thought that was coming. As soon as I saw that first half of that Mississippi State game, I thought, my offensive coordinator, Hugh Jackson, told me something that kind of stuck to my core, and it relates with football. Coordinators are going to scratch where it itches. And so they saw Mississippi State kind of do that mush rush that we used against Johnny Manziel, and they're not getting out of their pass rush lanes. And if you're not doing that, you're forcing the quarterback to, throw the ball from the pocket time and time again and make accurate throws and make plays down the field. And that's just something, Jaden's really struggled with, all this season. And so I think going forward, you're going to see teams continue to do that. They're not going to let their ends fly up the field and, give up those rush lanes. He's going to have to make accurate throws down the field. So I was very discouraged with that. Just the passing game just seemed out of order. But, there was guys open. You did have some drops, and it was just, tough to watch him play that way. But if they can't figure out how to get Jaden throwing the ball accurately from the pocket, it's going to be a long season.
So the stats for the season are going to be skewed by the fact that you scored 1 million in the first quarter against Southern, and whatever you do against New Mexico, who cares? But the fact of the matter is you played Florida State, Mississippi State, and Auburn. In the first half against Florida State, you had 119 total yards and scored 3 points in the entire first half. In the first half against Mississippi State, you had 131 yards of total offense, and you scored 7 points on your last drive of the half. It took you almost 30 minutes of football to score. And then against Auburn at halftime, you've got 7 points on offense. You had the scoop and score, obviously. You had 7 points on offense and just 129 yards. So you're not getting off to a good start at all. And so the question is, are they not prepared? Is the game plan poor? Are they not executing? So I went back and looked at this Auburn game. They punted 5 times in the first half. I'll tell you what caused those 5 punts. And I'll tell you that literally none of it had to do with Auburn's defense. Literally none. Okay, your first punt, you have a third down play. Mason Taylor's wide open, and Jaden Daniels just cold misses him. Just a terrible throw. Punt. Your second punt was on third down. You made a deep throw to Brian Thomas, who elevated, caught the ball, and came down 2 inches out of bounds. He was wide open. There was nobody there. It was a nice play by Daniels to extend the play, and then he didn't quite make the throw. But Auburn didn't have any defense there. You just threw the ball out of bounds. Punt. Your third punt, you hit Mason Taylor on a third down play to extend the drive, but you've got an illegal shift. That's not anything Auburn did. You just shifted and put yourself behind the chains, and you couldn't pick up a third and distance. That's your fault. Fourth punt, you run on first down a Kayshawn jet sweep that picks up a first down and is going to start the drive off with some good momentum, and Josh Williams blocks below the waist outside the tackle box. You've got 1st and 25. You can't pick that up. That has nothing to do with Auburn, nothing to do with the defense. Purely you just violating the rules unnecessarily, and it sets you up behind the chains. That's your fourth punt. You had to punt. And then the fifth and last punt, you have a third down play to Malik. It's that in-breaking route. It was a little bit behind him, not a great throw, and Malik dropped it. He probably should have caught it, but it wasn't a great throw. Either way, the quarterback didn't make a great throw, and the receiver didn't make the catch. That has nothing to do with Auburn. All 5 punts, the reason you got off to a slow start in this game, were totally self-inflicted by lack of execution, by penalties, or by drops. I have a hard time pinning that on the coach, saying they're not prepared. I have a hard time saying you're not good enough. You don't have to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's just bad football. And I thought, in so many ways you played down to Auburn's level. That's a very, very bad, very, very bad football team. Anytime you're up 17 at home and you find a way to lose that football game, that's just a bad football team. And so for LSU, I thought in a lot of ways you stooped down to that level and kind of just did some bonehead stuff that gets you beat. But luckily for you, Auburn's so bad, and that coach I don't think is going to be there much longer going forward on 4th and 10 plus on multiple occasions.
Twice.
I just don't understand it. But yeah, I'm really worried about this passing attack. I don't know what direction they're going to go in going forward. If Jaden's going to be the guy, I don't know how the severity of that injury yet, but if he's going to be the guy, they're going to have to figure out a lot of stuff. Maybe mix in some more screens, get the ball out quick. Maybe get some screens to the back, the screens to the receivers. But seeing him try to survey the field and have all the time in the world to throw the ball and still really not throw it accurately and on time to these guys and these weapons who are getting open, I just don't see the avenue where you're going to have a ton of success passing the football down in and down out.
And we're learning Brian Kelly a little bit as we go here in his first year, and I'm starting to pick up kind of the way that he approaches press conferences and media. And I've always been clear, I don't really care what you do in a press conference. I've covered coaches that told you everything. I've covered coaches that told you nothing. Doesn't really matter. Just go win games. That takes care of itself. But Brian Kelly is pretty honest and forthcoming in these press conferences. And he said today, if you listen to any of the press conference, if you didn't, just tuning in, basically, yeah, we're not good enough on offense right now. The passing game's not nearly good enough, and we're not going to beat anybody if we continue to play like this in the passing game. And, he's right. If you go out there in this game and throw for 80 yards, you will get beat by 30. I mean, that's just the way it goes. He knows there's going to be an emphasis on it. He mentioned Jaden Daniels' knee injury. He said they think he's going to be just fine. There's no structural injury. It's just a bruise. Could have gone back in there, but as Brian Kelly said, he's a mobile quarterback. He's a dual threat guy. He needs his legs to be able to function effectively. And when he was gimpy, it just neutralizes his greatest threat. So that's why he didn't go back in the game against Auburn. I would expect to see him against Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't know. Did he say what the severity of the injury was? Just a bruise?
Nothing structural, yeah, just a bruise.
Okay, well, yeah, he'll definitely be playing against Tennessee then. And yeah, I think he's got to have another full week to kind of watch that film and figure out what was going on, because look, you got to see that every week. You got to see spies. You got to see what we're doing at Ashford. You got to get their best athletes spying you. They got to try to do everything in their power not to allow Jaden to kill you with the legs. And so when you're dropping back that amount of times and you're pulling it down that much and not really getting much in the run game, you really set your team back, because that's your biggest strong suit, but that can be taken away. And then, the thing that can't be taken away is throwing the ball timely and accurately from the pocket, play after play after play. So they have to figure out the best way to do it. And the thing that to me that just kills me the most is just we're not utilizing Kayshawn at all. Like, he's your best player on offense. He's just not getting the ball enough, not getting enough targets. And I know people, I just got asked that on Saturday, man, is Kayshawn a selfish guy? Like, does he hate being here? Like, dude, look at all the Instagram lives after the game. The kid had a catch, and he's still celebrating with his teammates. So I think Kayshawn wants to play. I think he wants to be out there, but you got to start getting him the ball, because if you can't pass the ball to that level, so because just like Coach Kelly said, it's going to be very, very difficult to win. Thanks so much for watching Hunt and Hill on YouTube.
Now do us a favor. Hit the red subscribe button below and throw us a like. We'll see you next time.